Good morning, greetings to you, and God's peace be with you. My name is Kristofer Lindh-Payne, and I'm one of the co-rectors at St. Francis Episcopal Parish and Community Center. I'm sharing this video reflection for you on the little front porch where we live on a beautiful morning in this season of Lent. The bird songs all around, the pup in the background there. I'm sitting out here because I've been pondering the power of what it means to love our neighbor. One of the assigned readings for today is in Luke's Gospel, and I want to share it with you. It's one that not only you've heard before, likely, but we've heard it as a community of faith recently. It comes up a lot during this time of year if you pray the daily lectionary and particularly the lesser feasts and fasts. This is, here we go. Jesus said, "I say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you. And if anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for them again. Do to others as you would have them do to you." Jesus said, "If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. If you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. If you lend to those from whom you hope to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies, do good, and lend, expect nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High. For he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Be merciful, just as your Father is merciful." I really, truly love my neighbors here. We have a lot of really amazing people that live around us. You probably heard me talk before about the incredible diversity that exists in our little neighborhood here in Catonsville. And I love the interactions that have, like all the kids that are making their way to school, all the dogs that walk. Just people from all faiths and nationalities, all cultures, sexual orientations, gender expressions. This is a really amazing mix of people that we get to be in community with here. But sometimes it's hard to love your neighbor. And the other night, this row of townhouses that we're in, we're struggling with the fact that in the parking lot behind us, late at night at about 10:45 or 11, somebody was doing donuts in the parking lot and revving their engine it probably was for about an hour. It was really, really annoying and frustrating, and just about every time I'd fall asleep, they would do it again. And it was really fascinating in the days to come, talking with neighbors and commiserating about the person in the back that was doing the donuts and keeping everybody awake. And it was young and old that affected. I talked to the 9-year-old that lives over here, and she was like, she was disgusted by it. And in challenge communication through a couple folks who for whom English is not their first language, just talking about that. And but it was fascinating the way that it brought us together in complaining about this person who is our neighbor also. In that moment, it felt an awful lot like they were our enemy, our arch enemy, in fact, because the torture of wanting to go to sleep. As I ponder love of neighbor and love of enemies, as I ponder God's love for us, when we receive that love, when we are connected to that love, it makes sharing it, well, it's the only thing that makes sharing it possible. That love just flows through us in ways that is healing and transformative, not only for us, but for everyone that we meet, and for the wider world as well. I think about the messages that we take in. When we read Scripture, there are a whole wide range of different messages that we get from it, but the narrative arc is around love and liberation. God's work among God's people is to free us, to love us, and to be about justice and mercy, and living in connection with creation and in all humility. But when I pay attention to a lot of the messages that are bombarding us all the time, it can be really tough to make those choices of love, especially when we feel threatened, when we feel scared, when we feel angry. I was paying attention to our social media feed the other day, and if you are on Facebook, you likely have noticed that there are a lot of ads that pop up, and I don't understand how the algorithms work, but I'm always struck by it. And every once in a while, I notice that the way that that the app listens very intently to what I'm saying, and it processes that through and then spits out ads. So, for example, I had an experience years ago where I went into a Mexican restaurant, and when I went into the restroom, there was very loud music playing in Spanish, and I noticed that when I left the restaurant a little bit after that, all of my ads were in Spanish, and it was very fascinating to see that. But the other day, I got an ad that said, the colorful language I won't be explicit about, but it said, it was a sign that you put in your front yard, and it said, "My neighbor is a jerk." It didn't say jerk, it said something a little bit more than that, but I was struck by that. And, it's like, I don't know if that came in the aftermath of us dealing with the person doing donuts in the back, but I was struck by this message, this ad that popped up in the midst of the variety of bombardment that we receive. But it was giving me an actual opportunity to buy a sign that I could put in my yard that would send a message that is totally contrary to what I believe and what I feel. But I was struck by that, and the choices that we make. What are the systems that prevent us from really being in connection with one another, from really loving one another? The act of putting a sign in your yard that says, "My neighbor is a jackal," the kind of impact that has on how that relationship flows between people. I dismissed it and went about my business, but I was still struck by the fact that popped up there. I wonder about the messages that pop up in not only your news feed, but that tell you what you should do, what you should buy, how you should behave, and I wonder how some of those messages might be drawing you and us away as children of God. Drawing us away from the right relationship that we're called to be in, not only in this season of Lent, but in all of our days. So as we ponder the love of neighbor and love of enemy that Jesus calls us to, it is a tough one. It's especially tough when there's so many other messages that we could choose to pay attention to. But for today, may we choose love. Thanks for listening, and Christ's peace be with you.